What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue. This week's episode, hang on, there we go. Sorry guys, I had to move my camera a little bit. But this week's episode is on Hidden Arsenal 2 and the continuation / ending of Edison Format. Now if you guys remember, I actually talked about, in last week's episode, I talked about what Edison Format was truly about. And some of the different decks that were in Edison Format, and it's interesting because Edison Format was around was around the time that, to keep it blunt, to speak bluntly of it, Edison Format was a part of SJC Edison that took place, I believe, in April of 2010 actually. And from Hidden Arsenal 1, there were only a few cards. From Hidden Arsenal 1 that were viable for Edison Format. The first was Ally of Justice Catastor. The second was Brionic Dragon of the Ice Barrier, and the last was none other than Mistworm. Mistworm, basically, it's a triple compulse, and there were so many different decks back in the day. There were decks that would feature, you know, cards like Double Kai's the Shadow Monarch, Triple Deep Sea Diva, you know, double Gold Sarcophagus and whatnot, Triple Absolute Zero. There were so many decks back in the day that were just really, really good. Even also, and as I had talked about it in last week's episode, even the one that had won SJC Edison was none other than what's the one? Quick Draw Dandy Warrior was the name, and that was piloted by Jeff Jones back in the day. Big shout out, no copyrights here. You guys know how this works. But when you look at a set like Hidden Arsenal 2, this was basically the ending, if you will, to Edison Format. Because, well, Hidden Arsenal 2 released on July 20th, 2010. Again, this was a format where Edison was starting to leave, and there weren't a whole lot of cards from the set that were really viable, if you think about it. But what I want to do is I want to look up what format, because I don't remember much about this set. Because if you guys know, because as you guys are well aware, with Edison Format, there were so many different sets that were integral to Edison Format. There was the TCG / international. There was the sets from LOB, Legend of Blows by Dragon, to Absolute Power Force. Reprint sets from Dark Beginning 1 to Dark Legends. Cards from, let's see here, Duelist Pack sets from Duelist Pack Jaden to Duelist Pack Kaiba, which was released in April, which was released right around the time of Edison Format, actually. Obviously, as I mentioned last week, Hidden Arsenal 1. The Gold Series sets from Gold Series to Gold Series 2009, and then of course the movie pack that was released in August of 2004. The as far as the starter decks that were available, you had the structure decks from Yugi to the Machina Mayhem structure deck, and then the starter decks were obviously from starter deck Yugi to starter deck 5Ds in 2009. So many different sets. You know, and it was obviously going by the March 2010 ban list, and there were so many decks in Edison Format, so many. You had obviously quick draw Dandy Warrior, so many variants of Lightsworn, gadget variants, Gladiator Beast, Black Wings, decks involving a cat, cat variants, Flamvell Synchro, Gravekeeper Burn, which was actually a pretty viable deck back in the day, but yeah, it's interesting because as I have mentioned, when you think about Hidden Arsenal, this again, as I had said, this was basically the end of Edison Format, and once we got into Hidden Arsenal 3, that's when the format really starts to change, and I'm actually gonna look that up. Let me see. Let me take a look. So I want to look up July 2010. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe Reddit might help me out. I know that currently, no, this doesn't help me. Again, guys, I'm sorry, there was just like, I'm trying to find it right now. This one might help me out. Let's see. Nope, I don't think this helps me. Nope, this did not help me at all. I guess not. This did not. That one didn't help me. Sorry, guys. I'm like trying to find a website that might help me. No. Maybe this one might help. Yeah. So July 2010. Let's see. Nope, that did not help. One bit. Let's see. This one might help me out. So July 2010, I actually want to look that one up. Let's see. Let us see. Oh my god, I swear this thing, I swear I'm trying to like... Yeah, again, it was a weird, it was a weird one. It was a weird format, but one thing that could be said. Well, it seems I can't find it. But one thing that can be said about this format, anyway, was that none of the cards were ever like that viable from Hidden Arsenal 2. If you look at the set itself, and to go in numerical order, you have sets like you have cards like going in numerical order. You have Naturia Beetle, Naturia Rock, Naturia Guardian, Naturia Vane, Gen X Furnace, Gen X Gaia, Gen X Spare, Gen X Turbine, Gen X Doctor, Gen X Solar, Daisoja of the Ice Barrier, Medium of the Ice Barrier, Mist Valley Baby Rock, which I think that was the only card that was ever viable in that format, going towards the end of Edison Format, as far as I remember. Mist Valley Executor. Oh, Executor. Sorry, Executor. I was thinking of Executor from Pokemon for some reason. Flamvel Grunica, Flamvel Baby, Ally Mind, Ally of Justice Nullifier, Ally of Justice Searcher, Ally of Justice Enemy Catcher, Ally of Justice Thunder Armor, Ally of Justice Cosmic Gateway, Worm Lynx, Worm Milidith, Worm Noble, Naturia Beast, which I think that was another one that was pretty viable. DeLorean, Target King of the Ice Barrier was another pretty decent one. Thermal Gen X, Geo Gen X, Ally of Justice Field Marshal, Fabled Lurie, Fabled Grimro, Fabled Galabas, Fabled Kushano, Jurak Prodops, Jurak Velo, Jurak Monoloth, Jurak Tyrannus, Jurak Antjaw, Naturia Antjaw, Naturia Spiderfang, Naturia Rose Whip, Naturia Cosmo Beat, Gen X Blast Fan, Gen X Recycle, Gen X Army, Pilgrim of the Ice Barrier, Geomancer of the Ice Barrier, Mist Valley Falcon, Mist Valley Apex Avian, which back in the day it wasn't that good, but once we got into a format where a card like this was pretty viable, people looked at the card and they said, "Oh, this card is actually good after all these years." So people would end up using this card. Does it still see play? Not in today's format. I mean, I know that I know that I've seen it get some play, but not a whole lot of it. Not a whole lot of it, to be honest. Ally of Justice Reverse Break, Ally of Justice Unlimiter, Worm Opera, Worm Prince, Worm Queen, Worm Rakui, I probably just butchered that, Fabled Valkyrus, Jurak Giganoto, probably butchered that, Naturia Leo Drake, Windmill Gen X, and Mist Valley Thunder Lord. So as I said, there were only a few cards viable during the format where Hidden Arsenal 2 was coming in, and that would be Apex Avian, which didn't become viable until like maybe a couple of years ago or something like that. Naturia Beast and DeLorean, Tiger King of the Ice Barrier. So I'm gonna I'll show you guys what Naturia Beast was about and what decks were actually viable what decks were available in this, that would feature this card. So Naturia Beast is a 5-star. Is an Earth attribute 5-star beast synchro with 2200 attack and 1700 defense, and requires an Earth Tuner, and one or more non-tuner Earth monsters. I believe back in the day was a generic synchro back in the day. Crazy enough. And its effect reads: when a spell card is activated as a quick effect. This is the new errata. The original one had a much more different version. You can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy. This card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. So back in the day, it had a different errata. I'm actually gonna look it up. Hang on, guys, let me... Alright, here we are. Let me look up Naturia Beast. Here we are. There were so many erratas. There were actually quite a few erratas for this card. In fact, I think it had several. Actually, it only had 2. It had 2. So the first effect, so the original effect said while this card is face up on the field, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave to negate the activation of a spell card and destroy it. And then the second errata, and then the first errata said during either player's turn when a spell card is activated, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. Negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. Destroy this card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. And then the current errata says when a spell card is activated as a quick effect. As a quick effect. So it's interesting because they made it so this card could be viable in today's standards compared to how it was back in the day. Because back in the day, it was a hard once per turn. Nowadays, it's a quick effect, meaning you can use the effect during both your turn and your opponent's turn if necessary, which is kind of interesting to say the very least. Hang on, guys. There we go. Sorry, my fire stick went to sleep. And now for DeLorean. DeLorean ended up being another pretty viable card in several decks. I think in decks that feature cards like Deep Sea Diva and whatnot. So it was a pretty cool one. It was a really cool one. But the original effect of the card was actually released in a dual terminal set, in which the original required a tuner and 1 or more non-tuner water monsters, and it said, once per turn, you can return any number of face-up cards you control to the owner's hand. This card gains 500 attack for each card returned to the owner's hand by this effect until the end of this turn, the end phase of this turn. The one from Hidden Arsenal 2 said, once per turn, you can return any number of face-up cards you control to the owner's hand. For each card returned, it gains 500 attack for each one. That was the first errata, and it made it so. It made it, and the funny thing is that it was not a once per turn. You could use the effect over and over again, but with the new erratum, it now requires a tuner and one plus me or more non-tutor waters, and it says you can target any number of other face-up cards you control, return those targets to the hand, and if you do, this card gains 500 attack for each card returned to the hand by this effect until the end of this turn, and you can only use this effect once per turn. So it was a pretty, they made so it became that it would become a hard once per turn. Now, as far as Apex Avian, I believe that this card had a back row removal. The current effect says once per chain, when a card or effect is activated as a quick effect, you can target a Mist Valley card you control, return that target to the hand, and if you do, negate the activation and destroy it. So, funny enough, you can actually target. Funny enough, you can actually target this card and just bounce it back to the hand, and you would be able to just pop a card on the field. It's funny because the original errata, because the original effect said when an effect is activated, you can return a face-up Mist Valley card you control to your hand, negate the activation, and destroy the card. That was a dual terminal card, actually. Funny enough, the one from Hidden Arsenal 2 said when an effect is activated, you can target. You can select one Mist Valley card you control. Return that Mist Valley card to its owner's hand. Negate the effect activation and destroy the card whose effect was activated. Now the current errata is where it's a once per chain. So you have to activate it during a chain. So for instance, if your opponent activates, or rather, if you activate a card like, say, Pot of Extravagance, your opponent can go ahead and activate Ash Blossom. You activate a card like, say, I'll say Twin Twister. Your opponent can activate Apex Avian, bounce Avian back to the hand, and destroy Twin Twister. So Ash Blossom would be live, and you would not be able to get the +2 from the Pot of Desires, which is a crazy card, crazy ass card. So yeah, again, those were the only cards that were ever viable. DeLorean was pretty viable. Naturia Beast was viable. Those are the only cards. Other than that, there was nothing really great about this set. But once we get to Hidden Arsenal 3 in next week's episode, ooh, there's going to be a lot to talk about. And I might be able to find the format. But if you guys know what format this came from, because I know that this was the ending, this became the ending of Edison Format. So if you guys know, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, because I have no idea. But that brings me to the question of the day. What were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on Hidden Arsenal 2 upon its release? Let me know in the comments below. And that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys want more episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue, which gets posted every Friday. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. And if you guys have any fan mail that you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my address will also be in the description as well. And on that, This is your boy Nash, signing out.